in a complete red, between the devils and the daffodils, and of course the dread red is in, if you look at it sideways like that, you can look, and it has an odd familiarity, a kind of Mona Lisa familiarity. It's a devil. It's a devil in the daffodils. A Mona Lisa devil. And the reason I'm going to refer to the Mona Lisa devil, the devil in the daffodils, I'm going to come back now briefly to a post I did on Philip Glass. The Philip Glass post I did, and he did. A YouTuber commented. He did a musical piece for a film called Koyaanisqatsi. I think that's how you pronounce it. Koyaanisqatsi. It's a Hopi concept of unbalance, and a filmmaker made a movie about it, the way I make paintings about stuff that upsets me, the way Goya made the disasters of war etchings, something that was brutal and upsetting is almost like a misnomer. You can't express the outrage that you feel in somebody like Goya, or even in the pre-Second World War, the Entartete Kunst by the artists of Germany, Otto Dix Beckmann, making his art. Even Egon Schiele, his sort of radical departure from accepted norms. There are people that protest through their work because they're very upset. Now I'm going to make a comment, because it really hasn't sunk in yet, has it? It hasn't sunk in yet. People, it hasn't sunk in yet. And I must admit, I'm struggling with the idea of Fukushima myself, that it hasn't really sunk in yet. I wake up in the morning and I see birds, and I see the wind and the rain and the trees and the colors, and my backyard looks fine, it's nice. It hasn't sunk in. But there is an element inside of me, in the way I function, in the way I work. I realize that something isn't quite right. In the way that artists, and I'm thinking of somebody like Vincent painting his sunflowers, or the cornfields, that yellow field, and the crows rising out, and he realized things were not quite right. He realized that before that even, but he still managed to put it out. He put it out. Whatever it is that was going through this person, I don't know, but I imagine that he had an inkling about his own demise, and whatever he was going through, he understood that something wasn't right. This is the feeling from that painting. The crows above against the blue sky, over the yellow, over the beautiful, gorgeous yellow that he painted. Yellow is the hardest color to paint. So my comment now about it, really, people, it hasn't sunk in, has it? It hasn't sunk in. You can't wrap your brain around this, because most people still comment or think there is something left to lose. There is nothing left to lose. The dreaded red needs to set in. The dreaded red, the red needs to set in. The dread, the devil in the daffodils. When is it going to sink in? When is it going to sink in? This is a moment of no return. So my comment, I have to admit, I wake up, I look outside, things seem to be okay. They seem to be okay. People are functioning, they go to the bank, they take out money, they do whatever they do. And I have this really, really, really dreadful feeling. When I wake up, I look out, and I have a dread of the loss. The enormous loss we will all begin to feel when the dread sets in, and the dread will be connected with the regret, the dread and the regret, because we didn't let it sink in. We didn't let it sink in. Now, in the case of Philip Glass and this composition, Koyaanisqatsi, whatever it was called, it was a generic composition against what is called the imbalance of life. Yes, of course, life is imbalanced. We have problems. People, we have problems. There's an imbalance. War is the most obvious imbalance. The second would be the environmental degradation on all levels. This is an imbalance. But now, listen to me carefully. To all those that still believe they have something to lose, and I admit, I struggle with this myself because I look outside, I see things functioning, I see people, I give people hugs, I have relationships, I function, but there is a fundamental understanding in who I am, what I do. I make the paintings that express, that acknowledge. It gives me certification. I certify my feelings through my work. And my work is saying, this epic Fukushima nuclear devastation event is on the level of an extinction to all life on the planet. Okay, well, how else can I say this? When I listen to Blanche is somebody who has come out from day one, warning, saying, he was doing it even before, and this expression of warning, this warning, is so absolutely real. There is no doubt in my mind. I struggle with it myself. I admit it. I see it's still working. The clouds are there, the trees are there. But this silent killer is raging. The raging bull that is this silent Fukushima killer, and all the other plants have no doubt about this. All the other plants are all potential silent killers. They are doing what they're doing. The radiation is coming from all of these plants. We are not safe from any, as long as any of these plants exist, we are not safe. So what I'm saying, it really hasn't sunk in, because people are still responding and commenting and saying things, and oh, you know, Philip Glass has nice music. Yes, Philip Glass had nice music. Like the Mona, the Devil and the Daffodils now. It's an irrelevant painting. This painting makes no sense to me anymore. We're in a new age. We're in the age of fission. We require a new commitment to survival. This level of survival of Philip Glass 30 years ago, composing his music, which was cute and wonderful. Now, under the radar screen, so to speak, the nuclearism was continuing and flourishing, and the waste was being produced every day, the tons and tons of waste that go into the spent fuel pools, which cannot be dealt with. We have no clue what to do with this shit. This was happening, yes, during the 1980s when Glass composed this, but it's irrelevant. His composition is irrelevant. It's not. Einstein on the Beach was a premonition, was an insight into this, absolutely direct insight into this event called Fukushima. Einstein on the Beach. Think of it, the title, Einstein on the Beach. Does he defend it? No, he steps away from it. He makes no comment. He would be exalted as a visionary to actually have said 30 years ago, we're facing a catastrophe like Fukushima. Now, of course, you can have movies where bombs go off and all the standard kind of stuff. Oh, it's so obvious. It's so obvious, the bomb going off. This is not a bomb going off. Well, actually, it did explode. The plant, after a couple of days, did explode. It was a hydrogen explosion and unleashing the core meltdowns, the 3 core meltdowns. They have liquefied. They're going into the earth, into the ocean, and people aren't getting it. It's not sinking in. Where is the dread? Where is the dread? It hasn't sunk in. Let it sink in. It's happening in real time. And all the art produced before is irrelevant. Unless the artist like Glass comes out and says, I knew this. I knew this. This is happening in real time. We are now under threat. We are under the threat of complete and total extinction from this nuclear event called Fukushima and all the other plants. And it hasn't sunk in. People, it hasn't sunk in. Somewhere, we all still feel we have something to lose. Well, there's nothing left to lose. And the reason Blanche is so emphatic is because he has looked death into the eyes of death. And it's not a Bergman death with playing badminton with death. No, it's like a death that actually was face to face with death. And you, quite frankly, I've said this. The people who think they have a soul that goes into some other dimension. Well, if everything is lost in this dimension, we always have the other dimension. And then there are those people coming out like this Alex Gray guy making pictures about the soul exiting, going into the light. Well, the light isn't on the other side. The light is the experience of people coming back to this experience. And what is it on the other side? Nobody knows. Let's not go there because nobody has any explanation of what it's really like. It hasn't sunk in yet, has it? I remind myself. I make the paintings. I remind myself. I make the YouTubes. I talk on YouTube. It has to sink in, people. All of those people out there that still somewhere feel connected to the experience, the existence, as it has been for millions of years, is finished. It's over. The only other event I've always referred to is 65 million years ago, however long, who knows how long, the extinction of the dinosaurs, a meteor hit. Yeah, we have no control over this, but this is a man-made event. Fission is man-made. It exists as a result of our genius, Einstein. La 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 la, Einstein, fiddling, fiddling, fiddling. And Glass so correctly got Einstein on the beach playing his fiddle. Who else played a fiddle? Who else played a fiddle? I think somebody called Nero when Rome was burning. Einstein on the beach fiddling. This is his opera. He understood this. Now he can't defend it. What's the point? What's the point? What's the point of producing an artwork you cannot defend? Like sort of dopey artists running around saying, I haven't got a clue, I just make the work. I haven't got the clue, I make the work. Well, that's not how it works anymore, because as artists, as people of insight, people of brilliance and insight, they're not dopes, they're not stupid, they're not whacked out on drugs and all this kind of shit. Those people are irrelevant. We need people that step forward and their work comes to fruition in the defense of that work. And Philip Glass has dropped the ball. He's not there. Like all his other rich buddies, his artist buddies, the rich types. We need to let this sink in. It's happening in real time. It hasn't sunk in because... Why? Because we hate to give up on something. We hate to give up, the illusion especially. We hate to give up on our illusions. And this is why I paint, because in my paintings, when they work, I challenge the illusions that I live under. And the paintings in the back, the devils in the daffodils, are anything but illusions. They're my understanding of real time. It has sunk in. I work on it every day. It's still not complete. I know how difficult this is. I'm not chastising people for this being difficult and letting it sink in. But we need to be able to let this sink in a real way. Let it sink in. You gotta let it sink in. This is so monumental. It has to sink in. And all those that don't come out and express their outrage and demand a solution to this, which is possible, I still believe. I'm hopeful and I still believe. I don't know how, but there has to be a solution. We've created this monster. We can cage it. Whatever it is, at least we can throw it in some sort of corral it somehow. I still believe it's possible. Let it sink in.